The question I had this week is, why do I think the Russians have been so dominant at the sport for so many years, so many decades? And the truth is, we're doing really well right now. We haven't, I think we're getting to a point where we're building that foundation with these Olympic regional training centers and things of that nature, where we have guys competing longer. But in their sport over there, they used to be the Soviet Union, and then when everything fell apart, now you have Russia, and you have all these former satellites of the Soviet Union. Wrestling has some roots there. And it's also, it's to some extent, it's lifestyle. The best way to compare it is you've got a harder life. And when you have a harder life, you typically become a tougher person. Things that would be, extreme for a person here living in the United States is not so extreme for them. It's kind of, if you haven't been there to see the way they live, you don't always have a hot shower. You don't always have the best food to eat, and you just wind up getting a little more calloused and tougher to your surroundings, and that kind of transfers into the sport of wrestling. It's a hard sport. It's not easy. It's a combative sport with two people trying to make one another quit. And then obviously their teaching side of it. They have a way of doing things. It's systematic. And when I say systematic, it's not systematic in a way that they kill creativity. They'll take a guy who's got something unique and try to build on where he's strong, and then obviously plug the holes in the bucket to where they need to be plugged. Where I think here in the U.S., I think when we start with kids, and I think we're starting to change. I think we're realizing that now, especially at a young age. I was always taught that, square stance, carry elbows in, head up, don't ever change your lead leg, and all that stuff. And really, I don't know who came up with those rules. When you watch some of the best guys in the world compete, they'll shift their lead legs, they'll reach with one hand, but they've done it and they practice it, and they know they have great body awareness, and they know where they're at. Back to lifestyle, though, I think that plays a part. It's like if you have a house cat, and then you have a cat that lives outside in the barn and it hunts for its food every day. Which cat's naturally tougher? And so that's part of it, And if you look at other combative sports, and you look at some of these places where, let's go to boxing, where some of these boxers who have been world champions, they're growing up in, inner city America, and life's not always comfortable for them, and it's made them tougher and a little more competitive. And, to some extent, they know the vehicle for their way out of that situation is to be a great boxer, and if you go to Dagestan and some places like they're connected to Russia, and you're going to see how people live, and wrestling is a vehicle for them. Look at I'll take the Cubans as another example. If you've ever been to Cuba, I've been to Cuba several times, and if you're on the Cuban national team, you're going to eat 3 times a day. You're going to get the better housing, what they consider better housing. I've been down there. It hasn't been that. It's not that great a housing, but to them and how the normal population lives, it's better housing. You're going to get to travel. You're going to have an opportunity to get outside of that island. You're going to be able to, get certain things and bring them back, to Cuba and sell them on the black market or sell them to your friends and make a little extra money. So it's for them, it's really almost a real professional sport that increases their lifestyle. And so that's just one of the things. It's one of the carrots to being successful. For us, for the most part, you're going to have a decent job. You're going to get a decent education if you're any good. You're going to go to college. You're going to live in a decent house. So you're looking at it more as a goal-oriented type of situation. There aren't too many guys in the United States who are sitting here saying, I'm going to go win the world title and I'm going to make all this money. That's not going to happen. You do it because you're driven to do it, and you do it because you want to do it. So it's just two different mindsets approaching the sport. And so you can't ignore that fact that that's part of the reason of why they've had success for a long time. And then back to the other part is, you look at all the sports, and it started back when it was that, communist Soviet Union, and they would put a system in place, and everybody would be coordinated into one group. And because of that, they had great communication, and if they needed a situation where they needed an outstanding guy at 62 kilos or whatever, they could make a couple calls to these their regional training centers in essence, and say, send me your best 4 or 5 guys and have a training camp, and then take 3 or 4 and keep them in Moscow back in that day and harness them and train them and get it just right and always be solid at depth. So it's a little bit of a long-winded question, but one, their system of how they do it, and keeping their coaches with their athletes as they move up. They start with a coach, and that coach follows them along in their training and in their career. And then the other thing is it's a lifestyle change for them. If they are successful, those guys do make a decent amount of money that helps take care of their family, and they become celebrities over there more than we become in the United States. So, that's a little bit of a drive too. I think if we ever got to that point where, it's not always about money. We know that. But look, if you were winning $1 million for winning the world title or $500,000, there's a reason to keep going. That's a little extra incentive, for guys to stick around longer. So if we had that kind of income sitting around, you'd see guys maybe do 2 to 3 cycles. And every time somebody does 2 to 3 cycles, the guy trying to get into that lineup on the world team or the Olympic team is going to become more competitive because he's going to have the best guy in the world in front of him. And like I said, we have that going right now. The question is, can we now take it from a few weights and spread it out? How long is Burroughs going to wrestle? How long is Snyder going to wrestle? How long is Cox going to wrestle? We got a lot of up-and-comers, how long are these guys going to stick around? And they're going to drive how much more competitive we're going to be over the next couple cycles. So.